Hi, and welcome to the channel Annoyed Kitten and what I call Drachenwald files. Let's start with you introducing yourself.
Well, I'm Lady Maria Harsick. I'm from the Shire of Harpelstein in the Principality of Insulae Draconis.
Lovely to have you here. Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.
How long have you played in the SCA?
Oh, I had a big long break, but I started back around 1990, late 90s. Then I took a break from around about 2004 to 2010. And then good friends persuaded me back.
We're happy that you're back. We're going to go into that a little bit because you have played for a long time and you also took a break. But first I'm going to ask you all my standard questions because we usually start with if you have like a really clear first memory, good first memory, like that is when you get hooked on the SCA. That's when you like, yeah, this is for me.
So the first SCA memory, that would be castles, events in castles. I can't say which one came first, whether it was Beltane and St Andrew's Castle or one of the Edzell Castle events. But I think my favourite from way back in the mists of time is the only time I've been in armour for rattan fighting. And I was part of a group protecting the gateway in a castle battle. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, fighting is fun, especially when you fight. People usually don't know that about me, but I actually have done heavy fighting.
People
but
don't
it's
know me these days. So.
It's like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. Oh, it's more than 10 years ago. Fuck, I'm old.
Let's get started. I am too.
So that was your first like really clear, good SCA memory: castles and bridge fighting.
Gate fighting, gateway fighting.
Gateway fighting. Love it. And then you carried on doing SCA for a couple of years. What were your main things that you were doing back then? What were your interests?
Right. Well, I've always made clothes. So when I became part of the SCA and I started making clothes for other people. So my first award was because some of the words said at that particular event was, she makes everyone else's clothes before she does some for herself. So
that's a little bit bad. and at the same time fantastic, if you get what I mean.
Well, yes, and at the time I was making stuff that looked okay from 10-15 yards away. So I was doing stuff for students. I was a student or very close to that myself, and we didn't have a lot of budget. So if you kind of came and peered at it, it wouldn't have stood the authenticity test. But it looked fine from a distance, which is all that the SCA expects.
Absolutely. We have actually talked about that in another interview. One that hasn't been released yet. It will be released when this is released, though. But we were talking about that everything that is expected of you from a SCA is an attempt at garb.
Absolutely, and that's something I'm quite keen to keep in the forefront of some people's minds.
Yes,
because it means it's more approachable for people, newer people to the event or series of events.
Because we also talked that even if you are a newbie, you might not be new to reenactment or sewing. You can have done other things like theater or other reenactments or stuff like that before. But for some people, sewing is a threshold to get into the SCA. It can seems like frightening. It doesn't sound like that was your case, though.
No. Well, before SCA, I'd done wedding dresses, bridesmaids dresses, ball gowns. So
oh wow, you're a seamstress.
Exactly, yeah.
Hey, Scorpa. Sorry.
That's okay. You coming in?
Yeah. Hi. You're gonna come up and say hi? Oh.
Oh, excellent.
So yes, this will be a video with cats.
If I had them, they'd be in it too.
It's rainy outside, so he's not out teasing the magpies so much.
Yeah.
Oh no, you don't. Okay. What were we talking about? Yes, sewing. You being a seamstress before you entering the SCA, so that was not your threshold.
No.
And I think that is superb that you helped others then that might not have been so comfortable sewing.
That reminds me of another earlier memory. It was we were traveling down to the last Champions of the Isles event, actually, before Insulae Draconis became a vice principality or something. Anyway, we were all in this little minivan, bombing down the motorway in the outer lane, going 80 or 90 or whatever. And there was me with an arming jacket finishing the eyelets. So I think everyone's got some memory like that. But
yes. I think at least if you have played for a couple of years. So do you have a favorite piece of garb? So that is yours favorite piece of garb now, remember? Not something that you made for others.
Probably this. Simple Viking style.
Viking. Is Viking your preferred style?
At the moment, yes, it's comfortable.
Yes. I started with later periods, and now I have kind of like settled for Viking stuff because it's so comfy.
Exactly. And it's easy to make it with not too much fabric.
Yes, actually, yes. That is also something to consider when you start at the SCA. I know that some people, sewing is one threshold, and you were also talking about not having so much money that you can buy all these very expensive period pieces of fabric.
Yes.
And right now, by the look from my camera, you seems to have that now. But that was not the case when you started.
Balls and stuff like that. Yes.
Yes. Have you seen, and this is where we're coming to you taking a little bit of a break, a couple of years. Have you seen a change in the SCA, or when you come back, was it more or less the same? I mean, changes will always happen when it comes to people and so on, but did you see any like clear change from after your break? You did?
Yes, I did. Before my break, field heraldry wasn't so much of a thing. So if you're calling salutes in a tournament, it was done by the marshals. And seeing the field heraldry becoming more of a thing, it means that more people are involved. Yes, so field heraldry was something I noticed when I came back. Also, there was far less of an attitude that women are for decoration. So it was, you saw more female fighters. Don't get me wrong, they were there before, but possibly it was some of the people I hung out with, but some of the things that were, the attitude was very much, well, hey, we do the fighting, and yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not the case now.
No.
I'm very pleased to see that.
Yes, thank goodness. I do know this is way before I started in the SCA, but I do know that in the beginning in the SCA there were discussions whether it was acceptable for a female to fight or not. So we have come a long way from there.
Yeah, I might have heard some of the tail end of that from people who had been talking to those people from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we have more female fighters. And yeah, I also think that is great.
Yes.
Because I do think that, hey, why not? It's like, if you're a woman and want to do something, do it. If you're a man and want to do something, do it.
We shouldn't be bounded by convention on that.
Exactly. Do you think that the SCA is encourage people to step outside the mundane gender roles, like the gender roles that people tend to put on others? If you get what I mean. How a man should be, what a man should do, how a woman be, and what a woman should do. Do you think that the SCA encourage people to step out of that box, or do you feel that SCA keeping people in that box?
I think there is the opportunity for people to step out of the box, but whether they do or not is very much the personality of the people coming in. So I think for me, that's a difficult one to call because I've seen various attitudes. Some of them are still, you do this, you do that, but there's, and others are, yeah, more open. And I think it's based on where you are too. From what I understand, Drachenwald is one of the areas that encourages crossing that divide, if you like. So stepping out of your box, doing something different, and appears to be more welcoming of diversity. So, and that's something that also is very encouraging to see, is the work on diversity and inclusion, because people being themselves, they should be able to do that anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. The last interviews I had, we were talking about this, and it fascinates me a little bit with gender roles and how you are expected to be as a woman, expected to be as a man. And that's why I'm asking if you think that the SCA encourage it or kind of keep it in the box, because we are playing in a medieval world where the gender roles were very much almost cemented.
That's where I think authenticity needs to take a back seat, frankly. We want people to do what they want to do. And if you're looking at the most authentic experience, then that's not what's going to happen.
No, and maybe thank God for that in a way. Like with us, with female fighters and and so on.
I think there were female fighters back then than people realize, but I do not have sufficient knowledge to back up that statement. I've just seen commentary to that effect.
I do. And I can say, yes, female fighters was a thing back then. Not just Joan of Arc, there are more. And there are people writing books about this. So I can put a link down below for some resources about that, if people are interested. Let's move on from diversity and gender. This was just a little like, I've been talking about this in the other interviews. I'm
Okay.
curious about asking you the same.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your SCA and if you have a favorite event.
What, these days?
Yes, these days.
Okay.
Oh, you can both,
Yeah.
both back then and these days.
There's something about each event that I like, so it's difficult to choose, to be honest.
You
That's
don't have
not
to choose.
an answer, is it? I do enjoy Raglan. I've spent a lot of time observing there, sitting on the sidelines or helping out, sort of, and it's nice to kick back and relax. And that event allows you to do that, and you can also get stuck in with fencing, heavy fighting, crafts, whatever. There are so many opportunities to do different things there. I also like tournaments, coronations, that kind of thing. But for different reasons. So, yeah.
Have you kept on your fighting even after the?
Well, not heavy fighting, no, but I have played around with fencing and I'm trying to get back into it again. Outside the SCA, I've done other martial arts, so it's some of the body movements are transferable between styles. It's interesting seeing how that works.
Have you seen anything that like you came back after your break and went like, what have they done? No, why did they change this?
Stylistic things in court, I think. Before it would be you would bow as the procession passed you, then you would stand and watch. But these days there seems to be a convention of you stay with your head bowed, and it's like, well, you can't see what's going on.
No.
So, not doing that.
I actually agree with you. I tend to, of course, you bow when the crown is passing you, but then when they have passed you, you rise up. You remain standing out of respect, but you don't bow. And sometimes I feel like I'm the only one doing that. Everybody else is bowing.
And staying bowed, yeah. No, I do what you do.
Great. We are at least a couple.
Exactly.
And I do encourage people to not keep bowing because you, as you said, you won't see what's happening.
That, and for people with hip or back issues, then it's not a good position to be holding for a particular.
No. Being old and broken, that is also a reason why I can't. I mean, I almost fell in the knee of the king at one point when I was called up to court and I was going to rise, and the back didn't agree with me. It was like, ah.
Yes, kneeling for any great length of time is a problem for me.
Yeah. I think we have a little bit of a problem these days because now we have played this game for so long, so not everybody is 20 and young and healthy anymore.
We're not made of elastic anymore.
Exactly. So it's like kneeling, but I have seen that people tend to have like chairs and stuff ready for people that they know might have trouble.
And that's great to see happen. So
yeah. So we have talked a little bit about your favorite event, what you do in the SCA. You're doing fencing. I can see behind you that you're doing much more than sewing and fencing. You also do
tablet weaving.
Yes.
Rather a lot of it.
I guess I can't see very much from my very small screen, but it is. Oh, Oh, wow. Love it.
Yeah. And
Ooh.
And this is a collection of ermine. I'll send you a picture of that one.
Yes, please. Yes, please. So we can incorporate it in the video so people can actually see what you're doing.
Yes, it's very dark and gloomy, I realise, but it was trying to cut out reflections left, right, and centre.
Hence me starting to cover up my actually very beautiful scrolls with my, well, it was a gift, my we call it like a banner, silk banner, but reflections.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And well, I used to have a nice blanket on this side covering my my bookshelf. Not anymore. 2 interviews ago, my cat decided to climb in it.
I saw.
So I got a vase full of feathers and actually wooden recorders just on top of my head.
But you were wearing armor at the time, right?
Yes, I wore my coronet. Baroness Estrid's coronet, good for armor. I'm so thankful that the crown didn't get hurt. I was more actually worried about the crown than my head, but but it's my crown and it has cats on it.
Well, yes, it's good reason to be protective of it.
Yes. And it's also made by Baroness Astrid from Knight's Crossing, and she's a dear friend of mine, so it's like it has a sentimental value too.
Of course.
So I was like, So yeah, we're probably gonna cut this out. It's completely out of context. We'll see.
I should be clear. When I say I do fencing, I've done a little, and I'm hoping to get back into it when we're allowed to travel and actually see people. I'm certainly not proficient by any stretch of the imagination.
Which brings us into my next question. How are you handling the pandemic and the SCA?
I have to be online for work, and for example, the last couple of weeks, it's been Teams or Zoom for anything up to 7-8 hours a day. After that, don't want to be online again.
I totally get that.
On the other hand, the virtual Raglan event, I really enjoyed. I ended up going to more classes in one weekend than I had in the last couple of years. So there are advantages.
Do you think we will be able to continue this, or will it just be like, yeah, when things get back to normal, we will do it for a little while and then it will kind of die out? Do you think we will keep it up?
Human nature, I think you have it right. It'll maybe carry on for a while, then it'll die out. It would be nice to see it continue longer than that, but the will has to be there. So we'll play it by ear. If it carries on, great. If not, see what happens. The Kingdom does have a YouTube channel now, so presumably they'll always be looking for material. So there will be opportunities to maybe film specific classes at events or something like that and have it put up there. I'm not entirely sure how they are planning on working with that. So obviously check with the team.
Yeah, and I don't think that we can put too much responsibility on the team that's handling.
Absolutely not.
So I think it has to come a little bit from your average populace too. That we are doing this. If you're holding a class, ask someone to film it, and so
maybe offer it as a piece if you want.
if it is filmable, because that is also a thing that I have noticed during this pandemic, that some art and science topics is maybe not the best to have. You kind of have to do it.
Yes. And that's what's made me extremely hesitant about doing anything to do with tablet weaving. Because the only times I've shown someone how to do it, I've been there in the same spot with them going, right, well, how about you do this next and see what happens? You can't really do that in quite the same way. So I guess my gap in knowledge about how to transfer that kind of teaching to online.
Yeah, I totally see that. I mean, I have done some online classing about posaments, which is the Viking knots.
Yep.
And even though I managed to do, I have 2 videos up now in my channel.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to have it as an online class when people are like participating in a bunch. I think it would be easier to have it like one-on-one.
Yes.
Because it's something that you have to do, and then you have to kind of wait until everybody is catching up with what you are doing, and
Absolutely.
so on. And it's a bit of a challenge. So tablet weaving, I can totally see that is more of a challenge.
Yeah.
Instead of having 2 threads to keep track of, you have yes.
One of the projects I'm working on? Oh boy, yes. We're talking hundreds.
Ooh, wow. How wide will it be?
It's an experiment. It's over 100 cards.
Oh,
Now
wow.
there are people out there working with 300-400 cards. That's not traditional for Northern Europe, but I think there are. It might be in Turkey and places like that. I don't know. The person I'm thinking of, I think, is from Israel. But they're incorporating it in tapestries and hangings and so on. But literally 300 to 400 cards.
Is that traditional down there to do the tablet weaving?
I don't know whether that width is traditional, but certainly you find tablet weaving all over the place.
Cool, because I always seen it as like kind of like you said, a North European thing. I'm learning stuff here.
Yeah, you've got it in Turkey, other countries in that area. Certainly it occurs in China as well. And some of the weave structures you will find in weaving in South America, but they're not produced by tablet weaving necessarily. So there are things you can do with tablets that look like other kinds of weaving.
So, cool.
Yes.
Yes, so cool. I'm learning stuff. But let's go back to the online classes and pandemic. You, like many others, have had to adapt to your mundane work, Zooming and being online all the time. So yes. Perfectly understandable that you will not be so keen on participating in that part of the SCA right now. There also have been different variation of lockdowns throughout our kingdom. Do you have any kind of meeting in your shire right now?
At the moment, not so much. When there wasn't the pandemic, there was a kind of monthly meetup in a town, hour and a half or so away from where I am, and it was you just wander over to the friend's house, chill out, do ANS. People would fight if they wanted to, that kind of thing. So local shire event, basically. At the moment, there's nothing like that, really. Unsurprisingly. If you got more people in the same town, then maybe it would happen, but
you keep up your your event abstinence with weaving?
Yes. Well, I took a fair break from that, actually, because this year I was waiting to move house. So I packed up all the craft stuff and I left out one project, which wasn't tablet weaving. And then 6 months down the line, I'm finally starting to get back into it. But, it's such a good feeling getting working with guards again. So
I can see when you find your way back to your craft that you haven't done for a while. Did you do any crafting, SEA type of crafting during your break in the SEA those years, or did you just, no, I don't have any time and energy for this?
Yes and no. It's a simple answer. Since somebody asked me to make something, I would do it. I honestly can't remember. That was roughly when I was doing a postgraduate thing and working at all the hours that were sent. And yes, so hey, I'm doing stuff now.
Yeah.
So.
And like I said, well, super glad to have you back. It's just
that was 10 years ago I came back, so
yeah, I know, but you know, I know that people tend to take 1 or 3 or even 5. Some have taken 10 years break from the hobby because different reasons. And it's also very good to see that people are finding their way back.
Yeah.
When the time and place is ready, and when you have friends that nag enough on you.
Oh, it was just gentle persuasion. There wasn't nagging involved.
Good. So I have no more questions prepared.
No.
Do you feel there's something that I haven't asked you that is important about you?
I don't know. I tend to be someone who hides in the background a lot. So there are not a lot of pictures of me unless somebody's taken them and I don't know about them. And I understand that the reaction is, well, who's that? If I'm mentioned. So I don't know. What would you ask? Other than what you've asked already.
Yeah, it's like we covered the basic, how you started the SEA and your the difference when you came back after your break 10 years ago. We talked a little bit about female fighting and gender roles.
Yes.
And we talked a lot about your fabulous tablet weaving, which I personally want to pet next time we have the opportunity to meet in person.
Fair enough.
Hey, petting crafts is a hobby too, okay?
Yeah. Indeed.
It's shiny and it's pretty. So thank you so much for doing this. Despite you said that you were a bit camera shy. And I would say for Drachenwald.
Drachenwald.